the
This
background.
conference will now be recorded.
If you want me. Oh, Jake's here. Hey, Jake. Well, Jake, what are you doing with us? You didn't get enough of from the last 2 hours? I don't know. We'll figure
No,
out.
I was going to send you a note offline apologizing because I think either me or Peter ended the meeting prematurely.
Oh, it's fine. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Would you like to join the? Let me introduce you. Put your picture back on, and I'll introduce you to everybody. You can put your camera back on. So this is our main man, Jake Hannum.
Hi, Jake.
And Jake is the guy who is often responsible for posting everything to YouTube. And he's also responsible for running our Facebook page. And he's going to be a big help with the webinar, which I wanted to mention to you. We're doing our first webinar on the talk next week on the 30th, and we're scheduled to do one for the MS people is it September, Jen? I can't remember.
I think yes.
I think September, but we're gonna have a talk for the MS folks, which will focus in on the talks that parents and kids have to have with each other. But a lot of times when they're in MS, it is reversed. It's what the kids have to tell the parents when they get diagnosed, rather than what the parents have to tell the kids. So Jen and I will be working on that in good time. And we just want to say a big thank you to Jake.
And you asked why I joined. I wanted to get a pat on the head. So thank you. Thank you for the kind words. I've met Carly and Dan and Jennifer before, but hello to everyone else.
Hi, Jake.
I hope you have a good call. Good night.
Yeah, have a good night.
Let me make sure I get out of here without knocking everybody off.
Rick, it's a lot better than, remember 2 weeks ago, I accidentally popped into your prostate cancer group.
Yes.
It was so funny because I'm sitting there and of course my neck is down here. So I've got like all the double chins going on. And I was trying to teach somebody else. It's like, she couldn't figure out how to come into our group. And it's like, it's so easy. And this is what you do. And I clicked and all of a sudden I'm in the prostate cancer group. I'm like, sorry, see you later, bye.
Whoops.
Experiences. Anyway, you have one person who is calling in on the telephone. Who might that be? Somebody calling in. Would you like to tell us who it is, or would you can remain silent if you prefer? Okay, well, we welcome you. We're happy. You can identify any time and enjoy the call. This is a good group. I am cutting out and turning it over to Dan and Jennifer and Carly, and I'll see you later. Bye, guys.
Bye, Rick.
Oh, the caller, I keep seeing go green. I don't know if you guys are, never mind. How's everybody doing?
Good.
Nice.
Thanks.
So I guess at this point we don't need the round robin to introduce ourselves because we know each other, right? I mean, we've met everybody before.
I don't think I've met Michael. Have I?
I haven't. No.
Michael, your last name is a lot like mine. My last name is Pettigrew. So Michael Pettipool. I'm Pettigrew.
Where are you, Mary?
I'm in Dallas, Texas. Where are you?
Tucson, or near Tucson, Arizona.
Okay. Down south, like me.
Yeah.
Gail,
I was gonna say, that's interesting then. So Gail, I guess you all seem like standards, like you're always here. So I guess the paths haven't crossed. But Gail, tell Michael about you.
well, I joined the group probably, I don't know, maybe 2 to 3 months ago. I'm a relative newcomer to MS. I found out that I had have MS back in the fall of last year. So, and I've had symptoms for about 2 years. So I just recently started Ocrevus for primary progressive MS, and I actually had some symptoms that were continuing even after I had the infusion. So I went back to see my doctor, and she said that sometimes it takes 4 to 6 months after your infusion to begin to see effects. So I started another steroid treatment recently, so trying to slow the progression down a little bit. So just enjoying learning about this group and learning about people's experiences here. And yeah, so glad to be here.
Good to have you.
Gail, Gail, remind me, I'm sorry, forgive me, remind me, because I think everybody's in, okay, Carly, Digmans, Kim, are you in Michigan also?
No, I'm Iowegian,
You're where?
Iowa.
Iowa. Okay. And Gail, where are you?
I'm a fellow Texan, I live in the
That's
Houston
right.
area.
Gosh, what is wrong with my brain? Okay, well, duh. We all know what's wrong with my brain. Okay.
Your brain
Okay.
seems perfectly fine to me. Yeah.
Wow.
Is there someone still on the phone? No. Just wanted to check and make sure that we aren't leaving somebody out. But I don't want to single Gail out, but I'm going to. How are the steroids treating you? Do you feel any better?
I don't know that I feel a change in symptoms, but I've had steroids twice, and the first time my feet got very numb and no other symptoms. This time the same thing happened, very numb feet, but I was exceptionally tired. I just could hardly shake the spacey feeling for about 2 to 3 days, and that was new. I hadn't had that before. So, but I still have the new numbness, so it hasn't really affected that any. So, yeah. But
How many-
tomorrow I'm actually going to see a different doctor for some stomach things that are going on. So there's some digestive things that are going on. So my MS doctor is not sure that those things are related to MS. And so she said, it's probably time for you to go back to your family doctor and kind of go from there. So anyway, I'll go see a gastro doctor tomorrow.
Okay.
Wow.
How many days of steroids did you have, Gail?
I just had I had three days of the 50 milligram steroid, but 20 of those a day. And the first time I had steroids, I had a 5-day run of it. So this was a bit shorter, but more reaction than I did the first time.
Mm-hmm.
How about you all? Have everybody had a steroid? Steroids?
Oh yeah.
It's like you have like across the board bobbleheads just saying words.
Yeah, of course.
I've never had like the Saliamedrol. I mean, has everybody had that? Seems like that's the MSers go to. I've never had it. I just always got the prednisone and never been able to sleep. I mean, I was up at like 3 a.m. shopping wire. So
Yeah, that too.
Yes. Oh, I mean, the insomnia. And did you, I don't know about everybody else, but with me, the insomnia thing would be horrible. And also insatiable hunger, usually like at 1 o'clock in the morning. Not just like a little cookie or a cracker. I wanted I'm making a full-fledged turkey sandwich, mayonnaise, I mean, gobbling, I mean, just insatiable. And it's, yeah, it's a fun ride, and I'm being sarcastic about that. By the way, y'all, Monkey's mom that you see down there, that's Michelle.
Okay. Hi, Michelle.
Hi, I'm trying to get my camera turned on.
Hopefully
You
this will
jumped
work.
in right in the middle of the steroid conversation. So yes.
Yeah.
Yes. No, I was listening to it. I could hear it, but not see y'all.
So Gail, did you do Ciamedrol or did you do like prednisone or?
I'm not at all familiar with the first name that you all said. I was
Did you-
saying prednisone the whole time.
Solumedrol is intravenous, and it's
No.
am I correct in that it's the IV?
Yeah.
It's the mega, and you can do it either in a hospital. I know I was given that many times in the very beginning days of my after my diagnosis, and then a couple flare-ups or relapses, whatever people want to call them, that I had after that. I was able to do I had a home health care person come over to do, I guess they called it a party ball. And so she
That
stuck me
sounds
with the
fun.
IV. It's not a party ball, but she stuck me with the IV and taught me how to flush out, your own, IV. And then you put in, it's a 3-day deal. And so then she came back and she took out the IV, but then I got so used to the whole IV thing, I knew how to take it out myself. But I don't recommend that, so just don't quote me on that story. It's just that's what I remember in the early days. But after that, then it would be, and the big thing to remember for a lot of people, not everybody's like this, but for me, if I have to take steroids like that, I have to taper down. Otherwise, it is so hard on the body, everything. I mean, tender to the touch. It's just, so if you taper down, if you're taking like a prednisone pack, like the 5-day or however
Right.
long it is, you're not going to go through that issue as badly, but if you don't taper down from the
No.
Solumedrol, it's different. Anyway,
Yeah.
just a little side
No.
note there.
Good to know.
Yeah.
So everybody keeps saying 3-day. I'm trying to think, when I first got diagnosed, I went through one summer and I had 2 5-day Solumedrols, and then I think I had 3 3-day ones in like one summer. It was a bad summer for
Oh,
1 year, I think, from my diagnosis, which is how I ended up on Ocrevus. But you guys usually get prescribed 3 days and not 5 days?
I've had both. When I was first diagnosed, I would do 5 days. But then as I've gotten older, yay, now I do 3 days, and I haven't had Ciamedrol probably in a good 5 years. So
Okay.
yeah, I think it's probably both. What about you, Kim?
I just had Solumedrol for a 5-day course when I went temporarily blind in my left eye. They
Okay.
decided it was important to treat me. So
And that was a few years ago?
that was the fall of 2018.
Okay.
How about you, Mike?
I've had Solumedrol several times, especially early on. I don't remember how long it lasted. I've had prednisone, and as I remember, it was like 14 pills, then 13 pills, 12
Yeah.
pills.
Yeah.
And I had a few years ago, and I may have told the group this before. I wanted the doctor. I called my doctor in Phoenix, about 150 miles from here, and he wouldn't prescribe Solumedrol for me unless I went to see him. And I didn't understand that. And now I have one leg that's not working very well. And that's when that started. All the medical specialists tell me, well, that didn't interfere with your recovery because you get to where you are anyway, and it just speeds it up. but I'm not blaming anybody. I'm just saying, if I had felt something coming on, make sure I talk to all of my current and future doctors or whoever, that I tell them that story and say, I'll be really pissed if you don't put me on something, because I'm an hour and a half from Tucson and so on and so forth. I can't just go somewhere. And of course, you have to get scheduled to get in and all of that. For anybody who's new to these treatments, I think it's critical to get as soon as possible, get it started and get it over with.
Yeah.
It really limits the number of areas that could be affected by a relapse.
Right.
I'll ask Gail. Is Gail the only member of this group that's on a primary progressive, or I myself am the other one?
Relapsing, remitting.
Thank you. And
Well,
I'm fortunate to say that. But what state is everyone else in?
Secondary progressive for me. I was diagnosed 2001. Yeah.
I'm sorry, Mary.
mhm.
Be difficult.
I'm, hi, Michael. It's Michelle. I am
You go by Monkey, your mom, or what?
Monkey's mom. You can call me Michelle.
Michelle. Okay. Great to meet you.
or Eminem. Anyway, I'm also secondary progressive. It's partly confirmed. I haven't had a relapse since I was in my 20s, so we don't really know because I wasn't diagnosed until 2015. But I've been seeing the same neurologist since 2015. He was my formal diagnosis physician, and Mary, I thought you were waiting at me.
No, sorry, my screen has spit all over it. Sorry.
was distracted. But he, what was I saying? Oh, so he diagnosed me formally, and I've been seeing him since then. I didn't have insurance for a couple, 3 years. So now that I'm on Medicare, he's basically confirmed me secondary progressive because I've had several MRIs that don't light up and I don't have relapses, and yet, stuff keeps getting worse. So my endurance is failing. I mean, he just wants me in physical therapy often. And so, I mean, that's really, that between that and changing meds, that's the only thing. But we like to try Sabre. There's no reason to change to Ocrevus because the none are the same. And, since I came from relapsing and remitting, there's no reason for me to change. Primary others.
Okay. Yeah, what about you, Kim? Are you still relapsing, remitting?
Yeah, they haven't switched me at all, but I'm just kind of the pain in the booty where it's like when I went to Mayo, I have to listen to it what he recorded because he was like, he's like, it's MS, but he's not quite, because like I have still not found anyone that has suffered the fatigue level as I have and the cognition issues. Like everyone everyone has these, but I haven't seen like the extreme. Like it just took me 5 days to recover from my family being here for a month. Like my sister made me watch my niece, which I was super upset with because I was not like completely there. And to watch her and like be a bump on a log where we're in my backyard, I'm like reclining in my reclining chair, like trying to fall asleep because I'm just exhausted. That's not like
sad. Yeah.
that's not the type of aunt I want to be, right? So, and then I was just so drained that the last night they were here, it's like, Hubs, you need to drive me over to say goodbye because I don't have, I can't drive. I'm way too tired. And so I'm
Mhm.
still relapsing, remitting, but I still have these crazy complaints. Like one of the things, and I'll spew this off too, like, so I took last week, since I've been gotten this sleep issue under control, thank goodness. I'm like, finally, I can try using the stimulant, Nuvigil, finally, to start seeing how it works. And like day 4, I use it. Like I fell asleep in the middle of the afternoon, took a huge nap, and then Thursday, like, didn't do a darn thing because I was just too exhausted. But it's just like, and I have to take a small dose. Like I have to take the 50 milligram tablet, break it in half because the side effects are so great for me to use it, where it just speeds up my body. And I know I'm not having anxiety, but since my body's all sped up, my brain's like, you're having anxiety. I'm like, no, I'm not having anxiety. So the stimulants haven't been very nice to me. But relapsing remitting, to answer your question, Jen. Sorry
What
about
is
that
it?
tangent.
No,
What is
I understand. I just wonder, Gail, is your fatigue kind of like what Kim's talking about? Just like crushing kind of fatigue like that?
I don't know that I can go as long as it sounds like you kept yourself going. Like I need a daily nap, and thankfully I can do that. It doesn't have to be long, but I do get almost brain tired, and so if I rest for about a half an hour, that will perk me up, and then I can complete the day reasonably well. But yeah, Kim, you talked about one time like just hitting a wall. You're just tired and you just kind of need to stop and breathe.
Oh, it's bad.
So I kind of feel a little bit of that.
Yeah, and then I've discussed previously, like I was on the Walls protocol diet there for like 2.5 years, and I slowly went off of it, and then within 3 months, I hit a wall, and I was essentially mostly bedbound for 5 to 6 months, where I had like, before you have like 15, 20 minutes, maybe half hour energy to do a little activity, and then you go lay down, you recover, and then you get up and that I was just this totally like, food has to be ready to eat or throw in the microwave, or I can't even make it. I can't even stand the
Yeah.
stove, and like I can't wash my blender out. Like I can't even prep anything in my blender, like that bad. And my parents got me back on the diet, and because I'm like, well, it's really expensive. I'm like, we'll cover it. It's like, you need to go back on the diet. I'm like, okay. And I'm like, well, I can't make my food now because I don't have any energy to make it. And so I found a place where I could get the food already ready to go, and I just have to nuke it. And about 3.5 weeks after being on that, and I'm like, I felt the fatigue lift somewhat, but it's always like this careful balancing game where I've struggled for, God, especially since 2016. So is that 4 years now, where I use all these factors of like, oh, maybe if I do this and do that. And I've just figured out my best analogy is like MS, my fatigue is like a water faucet on your sink, the tube knobs, where one I have complete control over and the other one I have zero control over. So if that faucet that have no control is full blast, nothing I can do. And so I can see myself like creeping up, like, okay, you're getting tired. I need to chill it out. And then, like, when I got pushed by my sister to watch my niece, I knew that was going to push me over, and it did. And she was with me for like 2.5, 3 hours. She's a 10-year-old. She doesn't take much, she can go to the bathroom herself. She can take care of I'm not running around a toddler.
Yeah.
And I was completely exhausted. I was just like totally drained, where I'm like, look, babe, I'm like telling my hubs, I'm like, look, if my sister doesn't come and pick her up when you get off work at 5, can you take her back to the house? Because I can't drive. It's like totally unsafe for me to drive. And I'm very open, and I'm very aware of when I'm too tired to drive and it's not safe. And I'm always really surprised on how much MS will affect me. But I'm also the person that has the weird what's the word? Not depth perception, but things are like off visually for me, like distance wise. So I'll have problems with that. And I've lost like 5 years ago. I have no clue where my back end is when I drive. I have no clue. So when I'm like with my nephew and we're like at the strawberry patch picking strawberries, I'm like, babe, you got to go out and direct me so I don't hit kids or anybody, help me out. And they do. But just, I don't know. It's just like, everyone's MS is different, but I haven't found anyone like quite dealing with like the crippling, like the cognition can be sometimes, especially when I'm super tired, can be incredibly crippling for me, where I'm just like the biggest, I just like nothing, 1 + 1 doesn't equal 2 anymore. It's just like, like I don't have any energy to process things.
Well, I think Mary is raising her hand because
Yeah.
I believe, Mary, you've told stories before where you don't have that depth perception or that.
Yeah.
Is
Yeah.
that true?
Yeah, it's the fatigue. I would say if you had to make a list, and I filled out some surveys before, as far as out of these typical symptoms, list from 1 to 10 which are the most bothersome for you. I kind of have to vacillate back and forth throughout a few of them, but typically fatigue and cognition are always way up there. They're always way up there because when my energy level is decent, and see, if I can make a long story short, I was married for 12 years and I was a stepmother. So I don't have any kids of my own, but I was a stepmother, and they were little kids. And I got married before I was diagnosed with MS. But when the kids are little and you've got softball games and it's 110 degrees in Texas, and you want to do these certain things, and it's emotionally hard. But also it affected my marriage. I mean, to the point of divorce. That's another good topic for another day, and I've written about it. But with me, like with writing, I do write, but I'm learning, and it's been so hard. I'm learning to recognize, okay, if I don't give myself timeouts, I call it the crash and burn syndrome. And for years I accepted it. It's like, okay, my energy's here. I'm going to use it until it's gone. And it's almost like you're looking at a stoplight, green means go. You see the yellow light, which is it's warning you, okay, Mary, you need to take notice of what's going on right now, and of your brain and your body. But I run through the yellow light, and then I come up to the red light, which means stop. And by that point, I don't even see the red light, and I literally, that's when I crash and burn, and I'm in bed sometimes for a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, or longer. Michelle knows this. We're good friends. We talk a lot on the phone, and she knows if I'm, and on social media, if you don't see me, I've crashed and burned.
Overdone it. She's overdone it.
Yeah, I've overdone it.
And
But the same thing happens,
it's
like,
funny because
oh, well, just one more thing. Even just brushing your teeth, taking a shower. I've just done the minimum. I mean, I can't believe I don't have, like, okay, I'm not wearing the baseball hat tonight, So, but typically it's like I do whatever, and it's taken my family a really long time to get that, even though it's just going to dinner or going to lunch or 30 minutes of conversation on the phone, they're finally starting to get, when I can't, I can't. And so the power of the word no takes a long time to learn with your own body, and to say no, Mary, or no, Kim, you can't do this, or whatever your thing is going to be. But once you realize what you can and can't do, I'm not saying it doesn't get less frustrating. It just gets a little bit more realistic as far as going, okay, this is if I don't take care of this, then things are going to just get worse. And it just means I'm not practicing self-care,
And is that something that, I mean, I imagine we all kind of understand that, but learning that limit, has it taken you a long time to figure that out, or are you constantly learning it?
Constantly learning. I would say last year is when I became very cognizant of it. So what is that? 19 years after
Yeah.
my diagnosis. but I'm still practicing it. It's hard, and especially because my career, I was an event planner, so that's where I did your job is multitasking. So in my brain and in my body at home, I still feel like, okay, well, I can still write this article and do a Zoom chat and have a phone call and do my laundry.
Yeah. Well, and I look at all of us, and a lot of us live, not including Carly, Dan, and me, live in warm weather states. I don't know if the heat, now that we're in June, if that to use the MS word, if that exacerbates when you're tired and then it's really hot out. I know it's really hot and humid in Iowa, Kim, sometimes when I've been there. Just that makes it so much like hitting that wall. That for me.
We sit outside, and Jennifer loves the sun,
I love
and
the
we're
heat.
out there and stuff, and I'm just, it's like I'm like every 10 minutes I'm like, are you doing okay? You're not getting hot, because it's like truly when Jennifer is overheated, she can't drive her chair, and then I've got to drive her chair up the ramp into the house where it's cold, and then she's got a good half hour just sitting in the cold just to get her body back to baseline or whatever. But
I did.
And
But
like
you
Kim was
recover
saying,
after that, Jennifer, right? Because of the heat exasperate, you're able to recover after like 30 minutes to an hour and return to normal versus like, okay, I'm out for 5 days. I shouldn't have gone outdoors for that, sunshine moment.
well, and like you were saying, Kim, earlier with the not being able to add 1 + 1, that's how I am with the heat and the heat, especially the humid heat. And if I'm out there 1 minute too long, and that's the main reason why I got my disabled placard for driving. If it's too hot and I have to walk too far, I'm peeing my pants, or I'm going to trip and fall. Or I can't speak. I'm going to sound like I'm drunk, and I can't add 2 + 2. But we all have to figure out our little navigation system through it all.
And that's where we have to be kind to ourselves, because sometimes the navigation system works really well, and then other times you're like, holy crap, I was outside for like 5 minutes. What do you mean I can't do something?
That's right.
And you have to be kind. So
yeah.
Look at all the fun things you have to look forward to, right, Gail?
And then add menopause on top of the which is so much fun, on top of the summer heat and just the whole thing. So it's a trip. I don't get upset about it anymore. Irritated, frustrated, yeah. Pissed off, yeah, but I don't when I say I don't get upset, I don't freak out about it anymore. Because I kind of
Mary, when your body makes its own damn heat, it's a problem.
Yeah.
Summer during personal summer.
I mean, we were just talking about that. We had a little conversation before the meeting, and we were talking about that because I remember the last meeting I wasn't here because I was exhausted, but I had gone to the urologist, and I don't know if y'all remember me saying that I had a urology appointment.
Yes.
Yeah. So I went to the urologist, and that's a whole nother topic. I don't know if we wanted to do that. Yeah, I could speak on a little bit tonight, but if we wanted to do a meeting specifically for that. But yeah, so interestingly enough, all of that, one thing after another, I ended up having to get a CT.
I was having a hard time. I was hearing an echo. Anyway.
Yeah, me too.
You weren't alone.
I was getting a lot of feedback.
Is that from mine? Because it's mine that's highlighting.
You sound fine to me, Carly.
I think Michelle is talking. It's just not.
Michelle, do you have any earbuds that you sometimes?
I do.
That's
I'm
what.
wearing them.
Oh, okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
But
Yeah, you're good. You're good now.
now we
Okay.
can hear you too.
I think it's the webcam on this computer. It hasn't been updated. So please bear with me because there was crackling and spitting going on with y'all too. So I was just afraid that if I updated it, I wouldn't get on the call.
Yeah.
So
I understood.
yeah. So then she saw some uterine lining thickening, and my age is, I just turned 50, so she was concerned about that. But I haven't had a cycle for, I don't know, 3 years. That's a mark because it might have been somewhere between there. So I came out fine too, but it was the whole process of going through PT and then the sonogram test. There were 2 of them in order to do that, and then because of all that, the sonogram specifically, ladies, you think you might know what I'm talking about here. It kicked my heat waves back up again. I hadn't had them in a year or more, and now here they come again, all of a sudden, and I'm sweating right now. I mean, it's been horrible. I mean, I can't not stay hot. I'm
Okay.
always hot, and my feet are freezing, and all of the stress from going through all of these tests, and then what we're going through now with the whole urology process the step process we're going through. I think that's caused some stress, even though I'm not one of those anxious persons. I'm feeling a lot of pain in my what I call the central processing area. For me, it's my sacral area, and it's like it feels like the muscles are being ripped away from my spinal column, from the bone. It's extremely painful, but that's what it feels like. Or it's tingling, which would be a much preferred sensation. But and that stresses me out. I think that particular one stresses me out. And all of those things wrapped in together has shot my walking and standing and all of those other things that go along with, running a house.
Yeah.
Or not, for that matter.
So it's just everything compounds on, the heat and the stress, and it just makes it really hard, it sounds like.
Well, we're not having as much heat. I mean, here it's only gotten up to 91, so that's not that bad. But and I come from Texas, so I'm used to being in the 100-degree heat. Although I've been in Florida for since 2006, so what, 14 years now? Doesn't seem like it's been that long. And yeah, so I don't know. I mean, I don't really. I mean, I definitely can feel the heat, but I don't think 91 degrees. I mean, maybe it's because we've been low humidity. And during the summer, it rains a lot here. It's not the sunshine state because of summer fun. It's the sunshine state because of winter fun. And so it rains all summer long. We had one full week of solid rain, gray skies, and then it cleared up for a day, and here we go again. And so we'll start on with the normal at 3 o'clock, it'll start raining. And then once it clears up, it drops the temperature sometimes up to 20 degrees. So yeah. So that's what I love about living in Florida, and why I'm reluctant to go back to Texas, even though that's where all the people I know are, is the temperate climate here.
Yeah. There's just so many issues to think about. So that is challenging.
That's just the ones that affect my MS.
Yeah. And then that's, you know, what affects your MS. I think there you talked about like family support or just emotional support, and then stress, and, you know, then the temperature and the climate. And there's just so much that
Yeah,
it can totally affect.
absolutely.
There are some things though, you know, going back to, I mean, Gail, you know, when were you diagnosed?
Oh, just last fall.
I thought so. Yeah. So you're a newbie. You're a
Yeah.
newbie, yeah. But the thing is, you know, what one of us is saying may not necessarily be the same for you, and vice versa. And so you just kind of have to. It just takes some time to kind of figure out what's gonna work and what doesn't. But also, you know, just kind of, you know, reach out and ask questions. I mean, everybody here, that's why I'm so glad to be a part of this group. Everybody here is just so relaxed and so comfortable and so open. And I didn't have that when I was diagnosed. Facebook wasn't even around then. And so just, you know, just keep reaching out if, you know, if
Yeah.
needed, you know.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And I do sense that in this group, and I appreciate that. There is something that Kim, you mentioned about some of your symptoms, that you had a temporary blindness.
Mhm.
And that's something I have not had any problems visually. And I was just curious to you all if y'all have had any vision issues. Like Kim,
Once.
would you mind sharing some of your experience with that?
Oh yeah, if you want to hear my experience, I have no problem telling you my experience. Most people who have start with MS, usually it's a visual thing, and I was not one of those people. But what was happening is I went to, my mom had injured her knee, and so I was going to the store for her, and I noticed when I was at the store, like that morning, like things just kind of look weird, that my colors and the eyes were different, and I realized when I was going to the store with my mom, she wrote me on a grocery list on an index card, and I realized when I closed my left eye, it was all black ink, same color, but when I closed my left eye, like right, part of the ink was gray in like spots. I'm like, well, this is kind of weird. And I'm like looking, I'm like, that's different. So then I call my ophthalmologist, and she's like, they're like, can you be here in 15? And I'm like, I gotta go to my mom's house and unload the groceries. Can you give me 45? You know? But I came in, and so I went from, the colors got kind of weird to where it started dampening, where I only could see bright contrast, to then when it went like in 5 days. So I called my neurologist. This is Wednesday. Um, she's like, ophthalmologist, like, I'm gonna send your neurologist your information. So I call him Thursday morning, go, yo, my vision's kind of going in my left eye, and they call me back on Monday and like, so you're having a problem with your vision? I'm like, oh no, I'm completely blind in my eye now. So 5 days I went from perfect vision to completely blind in my left eye, like black, no anything. It was completely black. And
Yeah, this story was, my story is the same. I thought Peter Max came into my bedroom and painted, and then I went blind in that eye, and I think the nerve died. I mean, uh, optic neuritis. Have they diagnosed you with any of that?
Yep.
yeah, they diagnosed me with optic neuritis with my eye, and I got it back. It came back, but it was a really, you have to understand, I just had a high, we talked about solumedrol, the intravenous steroids, so it's like 1,000 milligrams. Like, so when you get Ocrevus, I think they give you a steroid, I think it's 250. So you're getting 1,000 milligrams every day for 5 days. That's kind of massive. So like, I call it I've never had LSD before, but I call it my LSD trip, because between experiencing these massive steroids and then getting back my vision, where it was like, came back like this dream wave like thing, you know, I
Yeah.
got first my peripheral, and then like I was driving one day, I'm like, oh, I can kind of see green and blue. And then like I'd open up a book and I could see 0 lettering. It looked like blank pages. It was just the wildest, crazy trip ever going through my left eye. And then go ahead.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Well, then the other thing I found out when I saw my ophthalmologist this January, I saw her, and she does all these tests on my eyes now because I had an issue with my eye, and she's like, Kim, for your age, your optic nerve and your left eye, they do like a red, yellow, green, scale of how it is. She's like, it's red. Like your optic nerve has thinned. It may go back, it may not, but I'm like, all right, so what happens? Like, well, there's no treatment for it, and if it continues to thin, then you're gonna have problems with your vision. And I'm just like, so I think I have residual damage from that. So we'll see, when I see her in a year, we'll see if the optic nerve has gotten better and increased. But she was like, you could see that she was really shocked. Like, so this eye was like 86 nanometers, I believe, and this one was like 56 or something like that. It was like this huge difference. And it's just like, good to know. It felt like I was getting the pre-diabetes talk with my optic nerve. Like it could be a problem. You're not experiencing anything because my vision is great in my left eye, but it could be a potential problem down the future. So I don't know. Interesting. So it was like, for me, I just had that one experience, and it was a crazy wild ride because during this whole time when my vision was coming back from the steroids, I was like sleeping maybe 2 to 3 hours a night because I was like, woo, with the steroids. And I call it my affectionately call it my LSD trip.
It is psychedelic in a way sometimes. Yeah,
It was trippy. It was
It's
wild.
interesting how many of us are shaking our heads that we have had optic neuritis and visual problems. And I just wonder, I mean, it would make sense that the treatments you don't even think about, like the Ocrevus, and like, is there any way to strengthen the optic nerve? Or no, Kim shaking her head that it's
I asked her, and then I looked it up, and it's like absolutely nothing you can do. So we'll just see what happens, and then maybe. But when we go back to like circling to fatigue, if I had a choice, look, do you want this fatigue you're experiencing, or do you want to be blind in one eye? Without a doubt, I would take the eye blindness any day in one eye, no problem.
Yeah.
Because I could drive. I just got the convex mirror on because my left eye, like on my side view mirror, I got that, and then I got this really awesome because I was biking a lot on my e-bike. I got this obnoxiously large mirror that I put on my helmet so I could look at through my right eye over my left shoulder, so if cars were coming and stuff. And I functioned pretty well actually at that time. I just couldn't see out of my left eye, and then.
Your brain adjusts very easily.
Yeah, I was, and the blessing that I had, what was really went for me, and I actually wrote. So when I was in high school, my boyfriend's mother, before I met him, had eye cancer, and she lost her eye, her left eye, and she had a prosthetic eye, and she functioned completely fine. So I actually wrote her this letter going, hey, I just want to let you know I was going through these things. I hadn't talked to her for like 10 years, and I just want to thank you, because of your experience. I knew exactly what to do. I wasn't freaked out. I was the calmest person in the room, which is really interesting. Like, you lost your vision, and you're like freaking out. I'm like, no, I'm totally cool. Sherry was fine. I'm fine. We'll come back. Not a big deal.
well,
And I was super calm during the whole thing, which is really interesting when you look back on it. Like, hi, oh, I can't read. Like, I could see the picture frame around my picture, but I couldn't see the picture because of the lack of contrast. And it was just the freakiest thing to experience.
What was the
Well,
time?
we don't have control over our bodies most of the time, so all you can do is control how you react, right?
Yeah, and I was just like really cool and calm and collected, besides the whole like I can't sleep at night for about a week, but am I gonna go out biking still? I'm like, yeah. I had to tell my dad because my dad has an e-bike. He's the one that got me into it, and he rides an e-bike like it's a motorcycle. And I just had to finally tell my dad, like, look, I got like 2 hours of sleep last night. I have like one eye working. You gotta give me a break. Slow down.
And what were you going to ask, Gail?
Oh, I was just curious of the time span, like from the time that you first started from the trip to the grocery store that day till the time that your vision kind of came back. How long was that?
I know it was 5 days for me to go completely blind. I think it was maybe a couple, 2 to 3 weeks after that where it came back. It came back like as soon as I got my first dose of the Solumedrol. I woke up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom and I noticed I could kind of see the white door of my room. And so it started and it slowly came to, but I would say like at least a couple weeks,
Mm.
2 to 3 weeks before it came back. And that was the argument because I was like really against doing the high dose steroids. It actually was really helpful. Dr. Walls, that weekend, I lost my eyesight. She actually was in Des Moines and I asked her, so what do you think about, high dose steroids? And she's going around talking to people. And she's like, oh, I think it's fine for acute things. I'm like, all right. Because I was like I was doing all the research, like what's the point, because it helps you bring back your vision quicker, but it doesn't like help like prevent residual damage or anything like that. It's just like give you a little boost to recover faster. And so I was like, I don't know if I want to do like high dose steroids, but talking to Dr. Walls and then my neurologist, I was really like anti on it, but after her and then talking to my neurologist, I'm like, all right, I'll try it and I'll see how these steroids treat me. So I now know I can tolerate them, but not to expect sleep because it takes about, it takes a long time for your system to get rid of all the steroids. And then you have the side effects like we were talking about earlier, the side effects of when I didn't do a taper. I did like the 5-day burst and then I was off, and how brutal getting off of the steroids, a high dose can be. So I can deal with it. I know I'm not gonna be like, oh no, I'm not gonna do it again, but it was really insightful. And then of course you got the munchies. God, you want to eat like crazy all the time.
Just constantly.
Oh my God, you just like, and I'm like that anyway. I just love to eat no matter what. I'm like that bottomless teenager, but then you add the steroid on top of it, and I'm just like,
And then like the cheeks, I always get the puffy like cheeks.
but I was a riot. I was a riot when I was on the steroids. I was having a good old time.
I don't recall having any of those issues on the steroids. I mean, aside from incessant talking, for me, I didn't have the overeating or lack of sleep and stuff like that. And for me, that was the first thing that I had right after they diagnosed me, because I was diagnosed with the the word is gone.
We're with you. We're with you.
Please hold. Advanced? Yeah. Advanced relapsing because of the span of time between the onset of the disease and then 30 years for whatever getting diagnosed. So, for me, but my walking had gone down, like I said before, down to like an inch or less maybe. I was just barely shuffling along, bent over actually. I was in so much pain from the right hip carrying the load of the left not working, and so the steroids for me, I was on 3 days of the Solumedrol. They did it at home. I mean, like the day I got diagnosed, they immediately called and set all this up. And I'm like trying to talk to my boss. It was a Friday. I'm talking to my boss about this diagnosis and, where do we go from here? I'm not really sure yet. As far as me getting to work and being available, it's going to be up in the air. That's kind of where I was. And they were, getting FedEx home delivery and all these other places to come and drop crap off, and where's the medicine, got to get the medicine in the house, got to set up the nurse to come to the house, yada yada yada. So for me, and when she did it, it was just simple, and she just came back for the next couple of days because I just didn't want to deal with doing it. But all I saw, aside from the incessant talking, which was way worse than what you're experiencing now, was was easy. I mean, yeah, I had a lot more energy, but it didn't affect my sleeping other than maybe improve it just a little because my legs were so active. I was not on any medications. I mean, we hadn't gotten that far. It was my first treatment. And so it just made improvements for me. When I went back to work on, I had 3 days. It started on Saturday, Sunday, Monday. So I went back to work to the office on Tuesday. I said I would work from home on Monday, but I don't think I really did anything. And it was just, I was able to walk again. Because I wanted her to give me a wheelchair. I was like, just give me a wheelchair so I can go back to the office. That's all I care about. If my hands are working, I can work, was my initial thought. And, you know, we all find out that that's not the case.
Yeah.
At some point or another, you think, oh, if I have this, I can work. And yeah.
What about your irritability, I'll just call it roid rage. No,
I didn't
anybody,
get any of that.
anybody have that?
I was the opposite because I had energy and my fatigue left me. So I was like loving it. And I had this great conversation with my nurse practitioner, my neuro nurse practitioner. I'm like, I loved it. I'm like, do people like, because when I was in school, they're like, you know, especially older people, they love their steroids because it makes them feel really good. I'm like, I had a great time. She's like, I know. And I'm like, she's like, people will request for steroids, like, hey, I got a wedding to go to. Can you like hook me up with some steroids? So I'm like, you know, awake for it. So I have an amazing nurse practitioner. We're like tight. I tell her stuff like that you wouldn't normally tell somebody. You know, I'll be like, oh yeah, I totally like this. And I love it. I love it. I'm so blessed to have that relationship. And she doesn't look at me like, oh, you're crazy. She's like, oh yeah, totally, girl. I know what you're talking about. Yeah, it's awesome. I'm so lucky.
I must be really sensitive with Solu-Medrol then, because like I don't sleep, I overeat, I'm irritable, I am no fun to be around. Thankfully, I haven't had to have any in a while. My face puffs up. I'm like, everyone get out of my way, I'm hungry.
You're not alone, Carly. That's exactly how I was. It's been years, God, years since I last had Solu-Medrol, but the same thing as you. I mean, but when I'm saying roid rage, it's
Well, even with Kim, the smaller doses that we get with Ocrevus, I still like Friday and Saturday, and I always schedule mine on Friday, but Friday and Saturday night, I'm up till easily 1, 2 in the morning.
Yep. That's definitely the first night for me. I'm definitely still on the first night. It's like, and then I forget. I'm like, and I got the munchies. I'm like, oh yeah, I got that. That's right. Like, takes me a second to like
Stay out of the kitchen.
Why can't I get out of the kitchen and go to sleep? Oh, it's steroid normal.
And see, I think it's interesting because I can handle, well, I haven't in a while, but the Solu-Medrol is fine, but the prednisone, that's when I don't, not only have the roid rage, but I have my skin hurts when you touch me and I will cry at the drop of a hat. Like
Yep.
my emotions are insane with the prednisone.
Yeah.
I don't know. I have mine on the 14th this month. The next in August is my next infusion. So Carly, call me on the 14th. The next day is my birthday. Call me, and then we can figure out how my emotions are. I might not be remembering this correctly.
Yeah.
Call me at 1 a.m. on my birthday. Hey, girl, still up? Like, heck yeah! Got my Solu-Medrol coursing through my veins.
Another August 15th birthday. That's yes. Wow.
Birthday. The Ides of August. Beware the Ides of August. It's my birthday.
Gail, is your birthday August 15th?
It is. It is.
Wow.
That's awesome. It's a good birthday to have.
That's interesting. I'll have to remember that.
My husband always gives me a hard time because I'm still like all about my half birthday. I don't know. It's because when I was in school, no one was in school when I was in my birthday. Now they are, but back when I was in school, they were never in school. And so I'm always really big about my half birthday. And he's like, you're supposed to get over that when you're like 12.
There's no rule. There's no rule that says you have to get over it.
Like, yeah. So what's my
hilarious.
gift? so my gifts is like I usually get my Ocrevus around the 14th and the 15th of February and August. So that's like that's my big birthday thing. It's like I'm like,
And your
yes.
end birthday thing.
Yeah, it's around there, so it's fun. It's like, when
Um,
was your Ocrevus? Oh yeah, it's around my half birthday or my birthday. Oh yeah, I remember that. Okay. Gotta do things to remember, you know?
That's funny. I did a course of Rituxan on my birthday. It's like easier to remember. With the MS, I need everything to help, and I can remember my birthday, and that's how we did it. So, Michael, are you taking any medicine or any disease modifying?
I'm on Copaxone 3
Okay.
times. In fact, I need to take it tonight.
Are you taking the one that you take like every day or 3 times a week? Which
3 times.
one? Okay.
Three times a week. I was on the everyday one,
Mhm.
but I didn't really care for that. I started out on another drug you take once a week,
Advenites.
Avenant,
Yeah.
and that turned out I have the antibody to Avenant. It was when I had optic neuritis that I went to a neurologist, a different ophthalmologist, and he asked me to get the test. And they told me I have the antibody to Avonex. So for the first 4 years of my diagnosis, I may as well have been shooting water in my veins than any medicine. It did nothing for me. I had the relapses, and the neurologist said, "Oh well, sometimes that happens." And then when my eye went out, the ophthalmologist, neuro-ophthalmologist, knew there was a real problem with my medication, and he switched me over to Copaxone. Um, I've been on that for 20 some years, and until my relapse a couple of months ago, or 2 or 3 years ago, I had no problems at all, and now I just don't walk as easily as I used to. But other than that, everything's fine.
Yeah. And Michelle, are you taking any medicine?
I'm on Tysabri.
Tysabri.
Yeah, they started me on Tysabri immediately. Losing my job was actually the best thing for me because I didn't have to deal with insurance to get on Tysabri. So it was, there's silver linings in everything. Sometimes they shine right in your face and they're like polished and happy, and sometimes you just got to shine them up a bit. But yeah, losing my job was definitely a blessing. Yeah. I didn't want to work. I was exhausted. So there were a lot more blessings than just being able to get on Tysabri. Yeah.
Speaking of insurance, Michelle, is anyone else besides me completely freaking out about insurance next year because of, we've been having this unprecedented, unsustainable jacking up premiums and deductibles and stuff, and now next year they're going to be like COVID. Is anyone else like freaking out about this, or is it just me?
Not till you said something. Thanks, Kim.
Sorry.
Oh, no.
So I think of things all the time.
Kim, are you on Medicare?
No, I just have my husband's private insurance.
Okay. Yeah, I'm on Medicare, so for me it's not an issue. But yeah, I can definitely see why you'd be freaking out. I was just thinking about that just the other day and going, well, I feel blessed, to not have to deal with private insurance right now, because I imagine it's going to be horrendous next year.
Well, I'm afraid they're going to like jack up premiums, jack up deductibles, and then they're going to start what they cover is going to be less. Like, well, we would have covered, but now we're not. You know what I mean? Like, they're going to keep taking away benefits, and that just freaks me out.
I think the coverage will definitely change. I don't think your personal premium will increase personally.
Oh, they increase every year. They increase every year.
Well, I mean, if a lot of people on that health plan got COVID, then maybe, who knows? But
I think they're
or
going to use it
maybe,
as a blanket excuse because they
well,
haven't been able to justify the cost. Like they
yeah,
just say every year, well, healthcare cost is rising. And then you have the other side
yeah,
too, where the doctor's office is like, hey, we can't be making money because of XYZ or anything. So we got to raise it. So I'm just like feeling like it's going to get to a point where it's just like, I have insurance, but it does nothing for me. You know what I'm saying? Like, I would
yeah,
love to do X, Y, and Z, but I can't afford, I can't pull. I think I did the research the other day, like beginning of the year when I found out the premiums and between my deductible and what we paid for insurance. I think it was like for my husband and I, it was like $10,000 out of pocket for insurance, like in my coverage. And
Wow.
it just,
Wow.
because I have a $4,000 deductible, which
and
I
that's
hit. I hit as soon as I hit the Ocrevus goes up the arm, boom, I'm good for the year. But that's still 4,000 and not including the premium, the cough up, and it's not cheap.
Yeah, that is not cheap, man. I just reached over to grab my most recent SSDI benefit statement. And yeah, so my Medicare, of course, the Part D, of course, for again, Medicare and with the type of insurance that you've got is very, very, very different. But yeah, I mean, I paid like $1,500 for my Part B for that's hospital and doctor visits. Well, plus there's co-pays for the visits too. So I'm not giving, that's not an accurate, but that's how much I paid for that. And then my Part D, which was deducted from my annual benefits, was $318 again. But when I took a close look, and plus there's certain medications that I get prescribed that I should that I think would be helpful for me. Yet insurance says no, her records should, we're going to deny this, or she needs to pay full coverage. That's a different story. But so when I looked at my out of pocket for this past year, and again, like I said, okay, so $318 is coming out annually from my SSDI benefits, okay? But I paid out of pocket $687 for my meds, and then they paid $100 and some odd dollars. What's wrong with that picture? That's a lot. Now, it could be, I think the difference is because I am not on any of the MS DMDs in this, and it reflected that situation for this year compared to years ago, where and several years prior to now, there was always a DMD payment in there someplace, whether financial assistance helped cover it or Medicare helped or whatever. It still kind of went towards the whole situation. So Kim, that's a really good question. But yeah.
I guess it also freaks me out too because we live in a country where people declare bankruptcy because of medical issues. Like this is, to me,
Sure.
working in healthcare for forever. I don't know. It's really apparent to me, and I'm just like, I don't know. Like I'm very lucky right now. If anything's in network and covered, boom, I get to be the jerk that's at the office going, "Oh, I'm sorry, I don't have a copay. I've maxed out my out of pocket, for the year." But
oh, no,
Yeah.
no, no. You're not the only one. I'm on
I know.
Medicare C. Yeah, I'm on Medicare C, so I'm on, like private Medicare. And I maxed out my out of pocket. And I'm not talking in network, I'm talking out network. And it was 10 grand for me.
Jeez.
And yeah, and I maxed that in March.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think
I
we need to do some major renovations on our healthcare and how we cost, and because it's gonna, I feel like,
well,
and this is my
I
personal
think
opinion, I feel like COVID has like taken everything and just put it on fast track, and
yeah.
I don't know.
But for me, I think that it was my DMD, but it was definitely Tysabri that did it. I saw that my doctor's office is also my infusion center, and I think their charge was like $800 to stick a needle in me. and which is high. I think it went up. I think it was like 500 pre-insurance. Because, well, I don't know. I think when they were billing Biogen for it was only 500.
Yeah,
So
and
who
that's
knows?
the thing that
But
just blows my mind is like every different company charges a different rate. Like this year I actually got furloughed at work or whatever you want to call it. I got put on COVID FMLA this week. I am no longer working and not happy about it.
welcome to
But
our world.
I thank you. I appreciate it, and I was going to quit. Can we? Well, shoot, we're recording this. I'm going to school in the fall, so I don't think that this will overlap with anything. But the plan was to get out anyway. But I'm going to be going on my husband's insurance, is the short version. And I mean, to go on his insurance is different. Plus, I'm also going to be coming off of Ocrevus, they've said. The longevity study is done. So, Kim, I'm with you on the like freaking out about it because for me to go on my husband's insurance already weekly, it's like, I think it's $90 for me just to be on coverage per week, plus all of the additional costs that there are going to be, plus COVID, plus paying for Ocrevus, you know, how that's going to work. So yeah, I'm with you on that
I think
anxiety.
the thing that freaks me out too, like, God forbid some reason my husband loses his job because of everything and he gets a new job and I have to start all over my deductible this year again and pay another $4,000. I don't think I could do it. You know, I'd be like, GoFundMe, who wants to help me out? Or like, parents, how much do you want me to get my infusion? You know what I mean? Like, it's
Yeah.
serious. Like, that's a serious concern. And
Yeah.
I don't feel like we should have to have that kind of concern, you know, because my drug is $250,000 sticker price, you know,
Right.
2 infusions for the year. It's not, I can't just pay that, you know, pay that off like piecemeal.
I was talking. I had a long conversation with Jeremy. He's one of the admins for MS Pals, and he's in Canada. And I was like, "Tell me about the insurance." So the insurance there is based off of if you're working, yes, and it depends on the government will fund you depending on your job and how much you get paid. So it's kind of like our grants here. So like, well, not the grant, but I don't know. I can't remember what I'm trying to think of, but it's a really interesting system because you have to be working, but you have kind of like Medicaid, I guess. But instead of being penalized for not working, you get the full benefit of the government when you're not working. So depending on if you make, you know, a high amount of money, if you paid well, you get less government funding. But if you're paid less, you get more government funding. The difference between them and us is the government just directly funds you. You don't have to go through third party things like Medicaid in order to get the government funding. So you don't have all that government red tape, spools and spools of it to deal with in order to just have your bills paid. I mean, is it really that hard?
Anyway, I didn't mean to freak everyone out by bringing up the insurance thing, but it was something that was like really on my mind. I'm like, is it just me, or is like I'm freaking out? And everyone was like, because people always talk about stuff, and I'm like, insurance, and they're like, oh yeah, I didn't even think about that. And I'm just like, yeah, they're locked in for 2020, but 2021, here it come. Woo! I'm
sorry I couldn't commiserate with you, but yeah, I feel your pain. So, I mean, I don't feel your pain, but I mean, I can understand your pain. There you go.
I just think there's so much going on right now where you're just thinking about, and I don't know if this is how y'all feel with the disease. You're like, just get me through today. Get me through tomorrow. Get me through this weekend. And it's like, holy crap, like the insurance is going to change. We potentially could have a new president. You know, this COVID thing's not going anywhere. And it's just like, get me up tomorrow. Let me be able to function a wee bit, you know. So I have a hard time a little bit making big long range plans or
I haven't even thought of like, well, because we're in June. I mean, we don't do like work until the end of the year and stuff, and we're just just trying to get through today. I'm just thinking, Jesus, I hope I have a job at the end of the year. You know, wow.
That may not be an issue because we might not be working, so we might not have, I'll be like, unless you give me the thing for free, I can't show up, you know?
We were talking last night, and I will. I mean, just we're talking longevity with MS, and I was just thinking, if I were to go back and just do, I'm not talking what my out-of-pocket expense is, but I mean, just collectively, for the entire 21 years I've been diagnosed with MS, how much money has my disease-modifying drugs cost overall? When we're talking like beta-serin, we're like $105,000 a year right now. Well, you know, you're talking millions of dollars just for a disease-modifying therapy, you know, and you're just thinking, what's right about that? I mean, when that's why we always push with advocacy. It's just like, you know, the beta-serin is the same drug. There's nothing different to that drug from when I was diagnosed, yet the costs have gone up like over 900%.
Yeah.
It's, you know, since it was introduced. And you're just thinking, what's fair about that?
It's like that guy, I can't remember what his name, with the EpiPen. Remember when the EpiPen used to be like, you know, I'm just going to say a few pennies, and then it went up to gazillions of dollars just because he could.
He wanted to, yeah.
I could tell you
and then
lots
also
of.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, go ahead. I was just gonna say I could tell you lots of drug greed stories being in the industry. We won't go there, but
yeah. I was just thinking, you know, I mean, they want to justify the cost and say that the cost of research, the cost of implementing, I mean, all the blah, 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 just to get the drug into the mainstream market. And then, but when you think about it and what you just said, Dan, you know, over the cost of a year, it was $100,000. Let's just round it off. And if you had 10 people, that's $1 million. So even if their research and implementation costs them $3 million, all they need is 3 years to make the money, and then the cost should go completely down.
Yep.
there was an article, I think Carrie Anderson linked to like a year or so ago that supposedly MS was one of the more, you know, when it comes to health disease, MS was one of the more expensive ones because of the longevity of it. And it said something like MS was $4 million. And I laughed out loud because I'm like, if I'm spending $500,000 a year, I'm sorry, $250,000 a year on this drug, that's not going to take me long. That's not including MRIs, doctor's appointments. I'm like, I'm going to way blow by $4 million before in 10 years. No way. No way.
And you bring up a really, really good point too on that. In fact, I mean, excellent point to where, and Michelle and I had just barely started talking about this earlier this afternoon. But okay, so that's MS by itself. Okay, MS, you're a neurologist. MS, you the patient. Well, other things happen to your body with MS. Let's say with GI issues or urology issues or visual issues. Your neurologist doesn't treat you for that. You get sent to a specialist who treats you for that. You get sent to this specialist for your urology. So everything that does not have to do with neurology, it's an expensive. I was about to say something bad. It's a friggin' bad expense. It's an expensive disease, and it's crazy. It's crazy. So you know, people need to know that. I mean, your neurologist is going to refer you to the specialist that need. And it's frustrating. It took me. I wish that my neurologist that I had years ago would have explained it to me better. She's not going to treat you for your GI issues. She's not going to treat you for you know, having incontinence or UTIs. You're going to have to go to your specialist, and the story just goes on and on and on. So you You hit a little nerve for me.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
I'd
I'm
love
on
to-
my roll tonight, guys. I
No,
apologize.
no, my point being is I would love to talk more about that. And even if it's, you and I, but this is something that we all need to know.
Yeah.
And Gail, I hope that we're not freaking you
Yeah,
out
I hope
because,
you're not freaking out, Gail.
because
It's good.
you shouldn't be. This is
We're
lots of
laughing.
information.
We're having a good time, Gail. Trust us.
Yeah.
Oh,
But
no,
it,
no, I'm,
Yeah,
I'm,
just pay $5 towards the bills and, don't let it get you down. I mean, what else can you do?
oh,
But
I'm very thankful. I have my husband's insurance, and really, they have never denied any tests that I had to have done. And during that 2-year period when I was undiagnosed, I was grateful. There were so many blood tests and MRIs, and as we've all been through, and I was never denied. So
Yeah.
very, very thankful for good insurance. So,
Oh, I agree. Mine, when I was working during the diagnosis period, my insurance was fully funded by the company, and it was a Canadian company, by the way. It was fully funded for health, vision, and dental, and I had they paid the upper tier maximums for everything. So for my dental, it was like 3,000. For glasses, I had 3 or 4 different things to where I could get, a pair of $300 glasses for virtually nothing. And and then the health insurance, I all of my blood work was covered. It was free. I looked at the bill after it came in, and it said I owed 0, and I was like, okay, that's cool. And then I saw that the amount billed for all of the different tests that were done was like $2,500, and it was all done on one day. That was just one day's worth of blood work.
yeah,
mm,
crazy. I mean, it really is. And, you talk about having multiple sclerosis and you're not supposed to have stress. And that's kind of a farce.
so stressful with dealing with the insurance companies. That is so stressful. And people who have not dealt with insurance have no concept on how stressful. Like Gail was saying beautiful things like, oh, they've never denied any, I've been great, everything's covered. The first time I had Ocrevus, they denied my claim. And I'm like, how can you deny my claim? I literally got a prior authorization you approved. And they're like, well, you didn't tell us if you had other insurance. I'm like, I've called you and talked to you literally 4 times in the last month and go, you are my
Yes.
only insurance. But I don't want to blame people, but the people I was speaking to, English was not their first language. So obviously there was a language barrier there too. But it took me 3 months for them to clear it up, to get it to push through. I finally got some amazing gal that's like, oh, hold on, because they're always like, you have to wait 7 to 10 business days, blah blah blah, and then nothing will happen. And she's like, 5 minutes, hold on, let me check the claims department. 5 minutes later, oh yeah, it's covered, gotta go through. And I'm just like, but they said, what happens when it denies? You get sent a bill for $63,000, because my first dose was just half the price, so $63,000 to go from it's covered to, oh, you owe 63. I'm like, I don't have $63,000 sitting around to just dole out to you. I drain it. Like, one of the big things that we had dealt with, my husband and I, this year for insurance, the big thing they're trying to push is HSAs, health savings accounts. Okay. But the problem with health savings accounts is that money accumulates throughout the year. So if you take $2,000, you don't have $2,000 until December 31st. And I'm like, okay, but I'm spending all my money in February. And so I'm like, this would be great if I could build it up a year before, but I can't do that. And I don't know. When it comes to insurance, I've had lots of issues. I'm very grateful for my insurance this year. I didn't think I'd like Pacific Health, Pacific Healthcare, but they've been better than Aetna last year. But they pay for my Navigil. Last year, they were like, not going to pay for Navigil. MS fatigue is not an indication for a stimulant.
Yep, they don't like that. But so in fact, if I look at my records, I'm listed as having ADD. so that they can.
Same.
Yeah,
if
I've
you-
heard
yeah.
that. People have done that. But when I talk to my nurse practitioner and she's like, have you been using your stimulant? And I go, no, I've been stockpiling it because next year my insurance may not cover it. And she's like, oh, totally cool. I'm totally cool. Then I'm like, so can you still keep refilling? Yeah, I'll keep refilling it. I'm just like, sweet, thank you. Because she's no, I'm not abusing it. I'm not doing it for stupid reasons. It's because I have to cover my butt that I might not have a stimulant for a year because my insurance won't cover it. And
Mhm.
I know, like, when they originally prescribed the 200 milligram dose, it was like over $600 for a month's worth. Like, I don't have $600 every month to pay for this, you know? So she was like, totally cool. Like, yeah, you go ahead and stockpile it because I know you're using it appropriately and I know why you're doing it. And but the fact that I could like be open and honest with her again, she's amazing. That I can be
That's
like, saying this,
perfect.
and she's not looking at me like, oh my God, what are you doing? You know, that's a, you know, she's just like, oh yeah, no problem. I have no problem with that. She's literally told me, I have no problem with you doing that. And I'm just like, thank you. I appreciate it.
That's the kind of relationship we all need to have with our doctor.
Seriously, if you're not happy with your provider, go find someone that works for you.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
she fell into my lap, my nurse practitioner. So I see an MD neurologist and then they flip back and forth with the nurse practitioner. So every other visit. And her significant other moved to Des Moines and she calls up my neurologist and go, hey, I need a job. And he's like, are you serious? He's like, yeah, I'm serious. And so he knew her because, you know, MS community small and she is freaking amazing. She's like, I'm gonna be here for 10 years. Cool with that? I'm like, sweet.
Yeah.
Yes, be my person. And she's amazing. But she's very real with me. And that really works for me, having a practitioner being real with me, like cut to the chase and stuff. So I'm trying to get in it. So when the nurse of the MD dropped the ball on my MRI when I went blind, and I found out 3 months later, oh, the doctor wants to switch you to Ocrevus. I'm like, well, that's great, but between my having to wash out on Gilenya for a month and I can't start it in December. There's no way with the insurance changing in the beginning of the year. And then when my nurse practitioner found out in January, oh, she was livid. Oh, she just showed her. She was so mad. And it was just so powerful to me that she felt like she was in a space where she could show her true emotion and I wouldn't judge her. And I totally got, she wasn't mad at me, but the fact, like, I can't believe this is not the first time. And I'm just like, yeah, you talk it out, girl. Yeah, well, I'm here for you. Yeah, I'm in your frustration. But she got to figure it out and she got it squared away. And man, I was on Gilenya I was on Ocrevus next month and she got it all figured out and they were amazing to me. But yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's
Dan
important.
and Jennifer, I have to leave, but I was really happy to have been here tonight. Good to meet Kim and Gail,
Good to
Mary,
meet you.
Michelle, Charlie, I know, and I look forward to our next meeting, maybe next month for me. I'm going to be in travel, and
Okay.
Nice.
summer, stay well.
You
Safe
too. Good to see
travels.
you again,
Nice
Mike.
to see you,
You
Mike.
too, Michael. Stay safe.
Bye.
Happy traveling.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Nice. Well, then when is okay? Because wow,
Can you
time
believe?
flies.
Yeah.
Time flies when you're talking about insurance.
And just when you're talking about multiple sclerosis.
Well, and we've got some
Yeah.
chatty people who love to research in this group. I can tell, which is it's great. But it also the more that we research, there's always something that we miss. And so thank goodness for all of you to shine a light on something that makes you go, oh, I didn't think about that. Oh, let me look into this.
Yeah.
And I don't like to drive myself crazy with too much, you know. I mean, yeah, I have MS, and honestly, I don't like the phrase I have MS, but MS doesn't have me. I don't like that phrase. Don't ask me why. I just don't. I don't get into even saying, you know, I'm a warrior. I'm just a person who lives with MS. And I take it day by day, and I've become a person living with MS who's an advocate with MS, who's now an activist, and which is exciting, but challenging at the same time. But I forgot what I was about to say. What was it? Okay.
Talking about
I have MS,
research.
but I have MS, but MS doesn't have me.
We like to research. 2
Yeah.
words. Sounds like squirrel. No.
Yeah, I now I remember. Thanks. Squirrel is the key word to bring me back to my reality. Okay, squirrel. Yeah. So therefore, yes, I have MS, but I don't want my world to be that. I want my other activities. I mean, normally when we're talking, you see my headboard in my bedroom behind me, and I thought I will sit at my actual desk today, and so. I've got my piano, which is very lonely, hasn't been played. I've had that piano since I was 5 years old. Got my Broadway posters of some of the shows that I've seen, and it just makes me realize, there's other things that we need to. There's life. I mean, Digman's and Springsteen go together.
Hey, did you see the picture I got?
Yeah.
Yes. So, yeah, it'll go great in this room. So.
Oh.
But it's one of those things that's nice to see you in your office, if that's what you said, Mary, with your piano behind you.
So next month you're going to play a piano for us.
I don't know.
That'd be nice.
Maybe.
That would be nice.
Maybe.
2 weeks to practice. Yes.
Yeah.
I'll practice a little bit. I can play. Yeah. I just need to practice, and so therefore, maybe you can inspire me to do that. I haven't even played for Michelle. She keeps saying you're supposed to play me a song. I'm like, yeah, I know.
I
But
haven't
anyway.
said that to you in a very long time,
Well,
guys.
it's been me that said I'll play you a song next time we talk.
Oh wait, no, it's the keyboard that's in your
Yeah.
bedroom, and that's the keyboard she was going to give to me because I want to learn how to play piano. Always have.
Well, and I'm not willing to give it up yet.
Yeah.
And here's I don't know if you can see, but there's Lola. She's covered up for dust, but there's Lola, my guitar. She's my pawn shop guitar. And anyway, it's just
you are holding the keyboard hostage from me.
Yes, monkey. Anywho,
because I haven't come out there yet.
I'm just not giving it to you. That's all.
It's just so rude.
Start with it.
That's just
I find out on a Zoom chat. I don't get it now forever.
So I think so am I correct then that our next meeting will be July 14th?
Oh my goodness. Okay.
Is that 2 weeks? Is the 14th already?
Well, close enough.
Close enough.
Well, it's whatever. I mean, it's like because
hold on, let me look at the calendar so I have it right in my brain. 7th.
Yeah, it's the 7th.
July 7th. Okay.
July 7th.
Yeah, the 14th.
14th seems a little far out, Dan. Sorry about that.
Seriously?
Yeah, the 14th is a month from now.
The Wednesday falls on the 1st.
So it's July 7th.
Yeah, so every second.
We still have another Tuesday in June still, the 30th.
Yeah, but the second, isn't it the second Tuesday?
Day. Oh, the 23rd.
Yeah.
Well, but it's the 2nd and the 4th.
Yeah, we're not doing every other week. We're just.
I thought it was every other week. Am I wrong? Does Rick want to chime in on that?
The second and the 4th Tuesday of the month.
Yeah, because I had the 14th.
Oh,
Kim, you're wrong. You're wrong.
I'm wrong. I'm sorry. I thought every other week. Sorry, my bad.
You're as wrong as I was.
It's just the 2nd and 4th Monday. Okay.
2nd and 4th.
Tuesday.
I'm sorry, Dan. I take that back. I apologize. I was wrong.
No, because because it's just, well, but you think like within a month, your first meeting of the month, then to go to the next meeting of the month is 2 weeks, but when you're at the last meeting of the month.
We have 5 Tuesdays this month. That's why.
Yeah. It all makes sense eventually, right?
Well, yeah, because I think we just started this a couple months ago and we didn't have that 5th Tuesday. So Thank you for clarifying me, because I don't know what meeting I would be on, Rick, on July 7th at 7:30.
Well, I had it listed for the 7th as well.
What meeting would you
Oh.
be in on July 7th at 7:30?
Well, 8:30, 7:30 Central Time, so 8:30
You
Eastern
would
Time.
be in the caregivers group.
The what group?
Caregivers.
Caregivers. Oh, that'd be awesome.
Oh, yeah.
You'd
Oh,
be
That would be interesting.
I have a really, really quick question. Okay, so for the meeting that y'all are doing in September for parents and kids, is it blank September, no date set yet, or is there an actual date that's set so I can write it down?
Hold on and I'll tell you what it is. Let's see here. It is Tuesday, the 29th of September.
Okay.
And Jen and I and anybody else who would like to help have to figure out some pairs. First of all, we have to figure out some pairs, whether that's 3 pairs, 4 pairs of people. We have to figure out a medical person, a medical speaker, or a clinician. I mean, it could be a psychotherapist or a psychologist, or it could be a doctor. I'm looking to your community to suggest somebody who's good. And then we need a moderator to bring out the issues. So
Meeting?
What was that?
I didn't know what this meeting that you're talking about was.
Okay.
Yeah, you weren't on the phone yet.
Okay, so we are producing a series of presentations called The Talk for different diseases, conditions, etc. And it is the talk that parents and kids have to have about their disease. And the first one is going to be next week for prostate cancer. The second one will be the end of July for ovarian cancer. And the third one is going to be the end of September for MS.
Yes.
And we need to plan the panel and the guests for the MS one and how we're going to publicize it. And, I mean, we're doing really well for the prostate cancer one. We already have 220 people pre-registered.
Wow.
Sweet.
Now that's probably because we've got at least one really good name. So, you know, if any of you have or contacts or friends have contacts to a big MS medical name, and they would be willing to work with us, we would love to have them.
Certainly, we have some ideas. Yeah.
My doctor is awesome. He's not well known in this, outward circles just because, he's not on social media and that kind of thing. But he's amazing. He is involved in worldwide research, which I think would make him really good. I know that he's spoken at a couple of the Stuart Schlossman things that were local. But
who are you talking about?
My neurologist, his name is Arnaldo Issa.
Okay.
Well, I am not, since I don't know the names and I don't know what name might be attractive, I cannot, this is why I'm leaving it up to the MS folks to design the panel. We know that, for example, for prostate cancer and for ovarian cancer, we've got names that are well known. So, and I think that helps. But
Well, I think this is like a really good, to have the date to get things started, to have a panel that includes some parents and their children, or, so I think that this is a good way to start, and that this, was I think a good topic, and we should be able to fill it hopefully fairly
Yeah.
with good
Well,
things.
Jen, I think what's neat about the topic is that I know that certainly for prostate cancer, we've never seen it discussed before. And for most cancers, it's never discussed. It's not something, and probably the same is true in MS. You've been in the MS world a long time. Have you ever seen this discussed before?
Not with a parent and their child.
Right.
And the perspective could be the child that has the MS and the parent is not living with the disease, or
Right.
the parent is living with MS and the child's not. So that's why Dan and we've just been batting around a few names, and I'm sure everyone in this conversation can think of a few people. I think that this will fill up and be really interesting.
Will this be, when you say parents and children, what does that mean as far as age? Are we talking young children and parents, or like me and my 79-year-old mother? Like,
You name
Fine. Yeah.
Okay, good.
For the session that we have on Tuesday, we have let's see, there are 4 kids. One of them is 40 years old, one's 40 something, one is 30, and the other is 20 something. So, it's sort of the full range. And we've got sons and daughters. We've got one man who's going to be with his daughter because he has the BRCA mutation, and he's passed the BRCA mutation onto his daughter.
Wow.
And that's something that you don't always hear about with men. You hear about women having the BRCA test.
Yeah.
With breast cancer and other things. So I think that's awesome. Yeah.
Absolutely. And that, being open to just the different combinations and being inclusive and thinking of everything, I think this could really have a lot of potential. I've been living with the disease for as long as I have, but I still think my mom would probably be interested in just hearing from other parents of what it's like, and, in children. I think it could have a lot of potential.
I think so too.
And so, I would say up to 4 pairs. I think more than 4 pairs is probably too many.
I agree.
3 pairs or 4 pairs. And like I say, I'm really going to rely on you two, on the Digmans, to lead the charge, but bring in whoever you want to bring in to put this together. And after Tuesday next week, I'll have a little more time because we're trying to get geared up. The other thing is that we've bought a new platform, GoToWebinar, because GoToMeeting is not a big enough platform. And so we've got to basically learn that, and that's putting a little stress because we've got a big webinar next Tuesday night. But we will run that. By the time September comes around, we'll be able to run the platform. We won't expect any of you guys to have to learn the platform. We'll be comfortable enough to do that.
That'll be good. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Sorry, just one question. The last meeting that I was on, we were talking about the bladder issues and things like that. And what I mentioned when I first talked, did we have that conversation yet? Because I was informed, Mary told me this evening about the accidental failure to upload. And I'm sorry about that. I heard that there were some negative comments on that. I haven't read the email, although I will. So I do apologize on behalf of that idiot to you, Rick.
I think
some
we're
people are
still
just
recording.
stupid.
Hold on a minute. I think we're still recording. We'll get ourselves into
Oh.
trouble again.
No, I think
Rick, it wasn't you. It was someone else that was making the comment. You're cool. You're clear. We
yeah,
accept all
and
opinions on this platform. It's cool.
Yeah, no. For the person on social media who said
No,
the
no,
bad
I
things
know,
about
Michelle, I
you,
know.
the failures
Let's
upload.
stop the recording right now. If it has it been stopped, did anybody stop it? Stop your
I'm
recording.